everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Breakthrough to Best Self with Holly and Lauren-Aaliyah. And of course, we're always happy to be here with you. It's that time of year, and we've got an interesting topic today. Well, in my opinion, we always have interesting topics.
Yep.
Uh, but but it's that time of year where we start to think about resolutions and goals, and for me, it was always losing weight. And but today we're going to talk a little bit about the new calorie count for weight loss. So, we've always talked about, or I've always heard, count calories, that's how you're going to lose weight. And is that true? Well, today we're going to dive into this conversation a bit deeper. Hello, Lauren, my bestie, my friend, my co-host, my colleague. How are you doing today?
Hey, Holly, how's it, everybody? All good. Glad that the worst of the festive season is over and I'm on the other side of it. It's good to be in 2025. So happy New Year to you, Holly, and to everybody that's
Hey.
watching. I say I'm glad to be on the other side of it because, oh my goodness, for people who are trying to stay on a clean food plan, this has got to be the worst season for me. It's just processed
Mhm.
food and junk everywhere. There's nowhere you can turn. Did you get through the holidays safely, Holly? How did you get through the festive season this year?
Oh my goodness, let me just do check, marked safe. But the reason I can mark myself safe is planning, a lot of mindfulness, a lot of awareness. It ain't easy, my friends. It ain't easy to get through this. I like to refer to it as running the gauntlet is not easy. But I am
Yeah.
safe. How about you,
Safe.
Lauren?
Yep, marked safe, marked safe. And it's a great segue into today's topic. As you were saying, Holly, so much of my past resolutions, and for anybody who hasn't watched our previous video, you will find a video that we did last week on resolutions. Um, and so many of my past resolutions involved weight loss and how much weight I was going to lose. It's so awesome to be, in January of 2025 and not have weight loss as this number one goal for me. But like Holly, you were saying that in the past, so much of what was traditional dieting advice was focused on calories and calorie counting. And so today's topic is exciting for me because we are talking about how do we get beyond, willpower and calorie counting and all the good stuff, not so great, that we were told would work for us, that failed us for so many years. How do we get beyond that? And yeah, it's really about how clarity and craving control can help us to create real lasting weight loss and health change, right, Holly? Yeah, looking
100%.
forward to us just chatting a little bit more about that.
I am too. I am too. Because for so long I thought that the only way that I could manage what I was going through was to count calories and to over exercise. That was the only way. Restrict. And I was shocked to find out that restricting actually triggers the stress hormones, stress hormones like cortisol. And it can actually make our bodies hold on to weight. That surprised me. But it's a
Yeah,
survival mechanism in our bodies,
yeah.
And what about the emotional connection, Lauren?
Yeah, well, just before I go, even we talk about emotions, like what you were saying, the survival mechanism, that's such a critical point. Um, Holly and I are both certified food addiction recovery advocates, and one of the things that fascinated me was how dieting, like restriction, you spoke about restriction, so calorie counting, sort of traditional restriction diets actually make food addiction worse.
Oh
So
yeah.
for anybody who's struggling with sort of compulsive eating, emotional eating, chronic cravings, restriction, and we know that that's typically what weight loss diets have, advocated. Restriction actually makes it worse. You mentioned the fact that it triggers the stress hormone, cortisol. It also activates those craving pathways. And the survival mechanism is what that you referred to, Holly, is a part of the brain that doesn't want us to starve to death. So
Yeah.
it is activated by scarcity or perceived scarcity. And so when we
Yes.
are on highly restrictive diets, diets that restrict calories and tell us to sort of consume way less calories than we need in order to lose weight, it activates binge brain. It activates this
Yeah.
old primitive part of the brain that says, find food, and if you can, find high calorie food. So think about high sugar, high fat combinations. Eat all of it so that you don't starve. And that's all your brain is doing, is surviving. So yes, absolutely. Restriction diets for that reason do not work. And like
Lauren, before you move on, I just want to say how refreshing that information was for me when I learned that it was a survival mechanism and that there wasn't something, innately wrong with me, why I couldn't stop, even after dieting, why I couldn't stop. But it was activating that part of my brain. I had no idea. So I
yeah,
appreciate you kind of diving a
yeah.
little deeper into that part of the brain.
Yeah, it's just, it's mechanical. It's brain mechanics, not your fault. So that this is, if this is happening to anybody out there that goes, I don't know what happens when I go on my, my diet. I tried my New Year diet and I was doing so well. And suddenly I'm like, neck deep in all the foods I shouldn't be eating. That's probably because that primitive brain that's, is perceives food scarcity and starvation has been activated. It's not your fault. It's a survival mechanism. And then, Holly, as you said, what most diets ignore is the emotional
Oh,
connection
yeah.
to food. So you're given this fantastic meal plan, as so many of us have tried and have been given at the start of the year. You get this fantastic meal plan, all the wonderful things you're going to eat. And if you're like me, you pin it to the inside of the kitchen cupboard
Yep.
and you're going
I
to
put it
open
on my
it.
refrigerator. Yep.
I can't tell you how many, I don't know, yellow pages with dog ears was stuck on the inside of my cupboard. I mean, I would take last year's one off and put this year's back on and watch
Yep.
that one go yellow and curl at the ends and be like, oh,
Yeah.
remember when I followed that diet for about 5 days? And that's what it looked like.
Absolutely.
So this emotional connection is nowhere to be found when we talk about how much do you eat, what do you eat, what
Yeah.
quantities and which lists and all those wonderful things that kind of these food plans gave you. And I mean, who hasn't been there where you've started the diet and then some big emotion comes along. And in my case, it could have been happy, sad, glad, mad. It could have
Oh,
been
yeah.
anything, right? And then, as I say, I was like, neck deep in processed food by, within a couple of days. So it was totally bewildering to know that my emotions weren't being considered. So, today we're talking about how clarity and craving control are the new calorie count. Now, of course, we're not talking about physically counting calories at all because we definitely want to say that there's just no point in trying to count calories. But let's talk about, we'll get into, that clarity bit, but let's talk a little bit, Halls, about craving control. What can you tell me about craving control and how craving control helped you with weight loss?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was I was just thinking about what a perfect storm you just described between the restricting. So then there's cravings that come along with that part of our brain that's like, "Hey, are we starving to death?" And then undealt with emotions, emotional, we're human beings. We have emotions. And if we are not um, processing them at some point, we are going to experience cravings. And so I can just throw my experience out there where I used to not process my emotions. Whether it's just like you said, whether it's a happy, excited, sad, whatever it was, it was a heightened emotion. And the only thing I ever learned growing up was, well, let's calm that down. Let's calm that down with a little food. Let's numb ourselves out. So there was that. And then we talk about the food-like substances is what I like to call them. The food itself can cause cravings. So foods that are high in sugar, fat, and salt are designed to cause cravings. They're designed to cause cravings. And so if we partake of something like that, we will have a spike and then we'll have a drop. And in that drop, we will crave. So there's that. And then let's talk a little bit about triggers. Triggers, okay? So what is a trigger? Or a cue? Sometimes that's an interchangeable conversation, cues and triggers. A cue is a reminder. It used to be for me on Fridays when I finished my work for the day, that cue was, okay, it's Friday, let's let go and let's go to this place and have this. Or a trigger might be, hey, when I go hang out with certain people, and they get into certain conversations or behaviors, I am triggered into cravings, or I even follow along with the crowd. So there are so many different aspects at play to cause cravings. And you know what? Cravings are stoppable. We do not have to give into a craving. And that was a surprise to me. I thought, I'm craving, I'm just going to do it. Or I'm going to white
Mm.
knuckle it so hard that I will fall off into a binge. You mentioned binging. Binge brain is what you mentioned, Lauren. I used to think I was a binge eater. I labeled myself as a binge eater until I found out what was really driving the cravings. And then I was able
Mhm.
to address them, each thing one by one.
Yeah. Let's bring it back to weight loss because I'm interested to know from you how all that you learned and all that you just shared, how has knowing that helped with weight loss, weight management, and how different is it to the old traditional sort of restriction calorie counting?
Yeah. Everything was about numbers back in the old days. What's the number of calories I can have? What is the number on the scale? So this equated success to me. If the number went down, I was successful. If the number went up, I was not. And that just led into more binging, which was, I just, every time I didn't, two things happened with the scale. Let's put it this way. One, if the number was lower, then, it was going in the direction I wanted to go. I started bargaining with myself. Well, you can have a little bit of this, you can have a little bit of that because, hey, you're doing all right.
Mhm.
Or it went the other direction, the direction I did not want it to go. Well, you know what? You're no good at this. You might as well just quit. You might as well just stop. You're just terrible at this. So, and then there was this argument going on inside of my head, which would also cause cravings. So, monitoring it the old way did not help. It made things worse. But breaking down to the triggers, the cues, the foods, all these things that are causing cravings, and looking at it from that angle, the weight loss followed. Instead of it being all about weight loss, it was about um, managing dealing with the emotions that showed up instead of burying them. And instead of it being calories, it was what what types of foods do I want to put into my body and how do they react in my body? And as I was addressing that, and it took long, I'll be honest with you, it took a bit longer than this 30-day boot camp mindset mentality. But
Mm,
it's been 6 years for me since I've been in recovery. And this has been the most stable my weight has ever been in my entire life. And
yeah.
that's the difference for me.
Same. That I just, just hearing you talk about it, I'm reminded of how similar our journey has been. Of course, I mean, I did all the sort of restriction diets that I could. None of them worked. I was left feeling just awful about myself, guilty and ashamed that I couldn't stick to these diets and thinking something's definitely wrong with me. Struggled with weight loss for decades. Um, just being overweight more than I was ever at the correct weight. And, since 2015, I started cleaning up my food and changing what I ate rather than how much I ate, which is
Yes.
what the calorie restriction is, and really focusing on what I was eating and what it was doing for me. And everybody finds their own path. I don't believe that there's only one way to do that.
Yes.
Even though I am a certified keto coach and I do, for the most part, advocate at least a lower carb diet, if not all the way keto, for most people. And again, it's not the only way. So, don't come for me in the comments if you've found another way of losing weight. I totally support that and I believe you. And I think it's great.
Thanks.
For anybody who's insulin resistant, of course, there may be a whole other episode we do on that. But in my case, that is why it was so important to know what I was eating. And so
Yeah.
for the first time, I did start to lose weight. Um, but like you were saying, Holly, when we shift focus from being all about the weight and we move to identifying those triggers and cues and learning how to manage them, knowing what they are, figuring out how to identify big emotions and what are the calming um, activities that can calm cravings, and these are skills, right? These are skills that can be learned. If you're hearing this for the first time and you're trying to understand what the heck are you talking about, how do you know what your triggers and cues are? These are skills. They're skills that are taught. In fact, Holly and I do a full 4-week short course just on getting cravings and compulsive or emotional eating under control. So these are skills that can be built. And I think that just knowing how to do that has helped me manage not just the weight loss, but keep it off. And like you, this is the longest period
Yeah.
in decades that I have had just sustainable, healthy weight that I feel good. I feel good in my body. I feel healthy for the longest time. That doesn't mean that it's not without its challenges. It's an ongoing I guess, management of cravings, but having the tools and the skills of how to do that has totally shifted what weight loss or weight management means to me. So that's craving control. Let's talk a little bit, Holly, about clarity. So we said that craving control and clarity of mind is the new way to count calories. If you're going to look for, if you want weight loss, drop the calorie counting is what we're saying and shift into craving control and clarity. So I like to think about clarity like when you're cleaning a foggy windshield. So you've got a windshield, you're out and you can't see out of it, it's all misted up. And you finally see where you're going with regards to
Yes.
your health, with regards to your wellness, of which maintaining your weight is one aspect. That's what clarity always means to me. When I think of clarity, I picture this kind of, oh, I can't see, I don't know where I'm going, and I'm kind of fumbling in the mist and the muck. And suddenly it's like, oh, this is so clear. My path is clear, right? What do you think about when
Yeah.
we talk about clarity? And we'll obviously get into the whole mindset shift, but just thinking about clarity, Halls, what comes to your mind when you think about weight loss?
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how everything with this journey for me started with an awareness factor. And that to me is the beginning of the clarity. Because before, when I just thought it was about, number on a scale and the calorie counting, there wasn't much clarity there at all. I was still fumbling around in the dark and couldn't understand what was going on. But having an awareness of what is actually going on in our brain, having an awareness of what my personal cues and triggers are, and an awareness that, the weight is just a symptom of what's actually happening in our brain.
Mm.
And that this wasn't my fault from the beginning. We can get into that more in the course and some of the stuff that we're going to be offering. But this is so enlightening, and it gave me the ability to step back from this craziness of the whole weight loss industry and say, wait a minute, what is really, really going on? So to me, clarity and awareness are interchangeable words that help me
Okay.
understand what is truly going on.
What's going on? And another aspect of clarity, I think, particularly when we talk about weight loss, um, getting really clear on why you want to lose weight, you know,
Yes.
and it's not just about, and this is what it was for me in the past. So in the past, I didn't have clarity when it came to weight loss. I just had, I need to be a certain size, or I need to be in a
Yeah.
certain, I need to have a certain weight. It need the numbers on the scale need to look like that, or the numbers on the tape measure, or the size of my clothes. And that is where the goal ended. It ended at those numbers that you were
Yes.
talking about. So there was no clarity around why. There was no deeper goal. There was no deeper feeling, like being having more energy or wanting to be really present with my family or being present in my own life. As a parent of a young child, then when I was struggling to lose weight, I think now how much more effective it might have been had my weight loss been tied into my son, who I love and who I wanted to play with and be active with, or think about him growing into, adulthood and me being healthy enough to be around to see him through
Yeah.
graduation or getting married. Or those are such more deeper, meaningful reasons to lose weight.
Absolutely.
And what we know now is that, neuroscience, the science of the brain and the way our brain actually works, neuroscience shows that when our goals are emotionally meaningful, we actually stay more motivated. We're more inclined to follow through. So that's a wonderful tip for anybody who is thinking about weight loss at this time of year and is setting out a goal. Let's try to shift away from the numbers of going, oh, I'm going to lose, 10 kgs or 20
Yeah.
pounds or 30 pounds. But let's look at why. Why do I
Yeah.
want to lose this weight and get really emotionally connected? Again, research showing that our brain will follow a plan when we can visualize this outcome and become emotionally connected. So even just visualizing how you're going to be, not just the size you're going to be, but how you are going to be, how are you going to show up in the world, how are you going to enjoy it, what is that going to feel like, how are you going to feel in your own body, um, and then having that connection. It shows again that that can actually disrupt cravings, right, Hans? Actually
It's
being
so
connected
amazing.
to part of the brain can disrupt cravings. So let's talk a little bit. How
Yes.
does that happen? How does clarity and being clear on your goal, how can that disrupt cravings?
Because we already know this because of the work that we do with the unconscious mind. So we talk about that a lot. We talked about that in the manifesting video we did earlier this year, and how when we can bring in the vision of our why, tying it to the emotion that comes with that vision, we are bringing the limbic system, that part of our brain, into it. We talk about dopamine, and the thing about dopamine is it is that motivating brain chemical. It is that motivator inside of our brain. And of course, with the food, we have dopamine releases, and that has in the past motivated us to go to partaking. But when we bring it all together into that part of our brain, and we say, do you know that my goals of a healthy lifestyle will give me an opportunity to live the next chapter of my life in a way that brings me happiness, brings me connection. It is um, I'm creating the life I don't want to escape from. I'm creating the life I've always wanted to live, whether it be spending it with our kids or spending it creating. Lauren and you and I have created this podcast. And this was through the clarity, and this was through we didn't even know it was part of our why until we started our journey. And so your why, you can start out with your why right now. Why do you want to lose weight? And along the way, you may learn some more whys about yourself. You may learn that you really enjoy sound healing, or you may really enjoy working with people and being there. So there's so much. This clarity disrupts the cravings because, at that point, I might say to myself, is this going to support my why? Do I really need this? And I want to add one other piece to this, Lauren, to this part of the conversation. What is It is not about perfection. It's small intentional choices that we make along the way. Because when I used to think that I have to be perfect in a diet, the moment that I slipped up, um, I would quit. Well, you know what? I couldn't do this anyway. You see, there's the evidence. And
Yeah.
actually, now the evidence for me is that I keep going anyway. Anyway.
Yeah.
Lauren, what are your thoughts about how clarity disrupts cravings?
Well, one of the things that research actually shows, and we love to go back to the science, is research shows that clarity actually activates the prefrontal cortex, or the frontal lobe, that part of the brain that is responsible for decision making, is also responsible for impulse control. So, very direct impact on cravings and your impulse to eat. Like you were saying, Holly, you're going to be able to pause and ask yourself, does this help me get to my goal? Is this going to help me get to my why? So anytime we really clear on a goal, we've given our brain a plan. That's what we've
Yeah.
done. We've given our brain a plan. And so when we are, just think about this past holiday, the past festive season. Some of us might have gone into this festive season, into this holiday season, going, I am not going to overeat this year. I do not want to put on weight, or I don't want to struggle with weight loss in the new year, or I'm going to stay healthy. Or, a lot of people went into this holiday thinking that they'll try something different. And then they couldn't, because the cravings were too much. They were too triggered. They were too cued. It was too much for them. And that impulse to eat was just stronger than any decision they made. And some of that is because we just weren't clear enough. Yes, it was also because we may not have had the skills that we spoke about of craving control. However, the clarity on the goal is that we would be able to pause around that bigger picture. So here's a practical kind of exercise for anybody who wants to test out this clarity theory, or think about what it means for you. You know, some of us have written down in our journals or made a note somewhere of maybe some health goals, maybe some weight loss goals that we've set for 2025. I invite you to go back to wherever you've written those down, or even if you've made a mental note, but really write down 3 reasons why you want to lose weight in 2025. So rather than going, I want to lose, 30 kgs, I want to lose 60 pounds, I want to talk about why, at least 3 really big reasons. If you go, oh, because I want to look better in my clothes. Okay, great. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to look better in your clothes? And then answer why a third time. And if it helps you, answer it a fourth time. But keep going until you find a really big reason that you want. So we're going below the surface here. We're going really deep on the answers. And then keep an eye on that list. Keep an eye on that list. So put it up, maybe put it up in front of you, or put it on your desk, or put it somewhere where you go every day, or maybe that's what should be on the inside of my kitchen cupboard instead of the, awful calorie counting meal plan. So put it somewhere, maybe it's just on your phone, since that's something we look at more often. But really looking at what that big why is. And then, as you were saying, Holly, it's not about perfection, but what are our small intentional choices that we're making that will be aligned to that goal? So it's making choices that are aligned. And so when we clear on why we're doing this, we clear on our why, that's where that braking system comes in that stops the impulsive behavior, and it goes, hold on a second, is this aligned to what you set out as a big reason that you want to lose weight? Like, is this helpful? So it definitely helps with that, what we call the braking system, right? So absolutely, it's been a game changer. Halls, we're almost at the end of this episode. So just going back to just final thoughts on this combination of craving control and clarity, and how that combination is so much more superior to the old-fashioned calorie counting restriction. Any final thoughts you have to take away from this?
For sure. I want to invite any of our listeners out there to just start to bring a clearer picture to yourself. What are your triggers? Do you have triggers that you face on a regular basis? Do you, are there certain emotions that cause you to crave? And really in the beginning, it might just be stepping back and observing and becoming very aware of when you experience cravings. I'm experiencing a craving. Hmm, what led up to that? In a gentle, kind, and compassionate way, we can love ourselves through this process instead of what I used to do, beat myself up through the process. We can love ourselves through this process and find a new way, find a different way, a way that is sustainable instead of 30 days on, 30 years off. Well, I'm exaggerating here, but hey, I had 3.5 year binge, is all I can say. So it can happen, but it doesn't have to. Doesn't have to. Lauren, what are your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's changed my life, and I think that, beyond anything we've learned and beyond what the science says and the research shows, this is my personal lived experience. I tried the old fashioned way. I tried calorie counting. I tried restriction. I tried old fashioned ways of dieting for years. And then I shifted. And even as a certified keto coach who lost the weight, in 2015, 2016, I lost a bunch of weight. And, some of you may have come across some of my before and after pictures on my social media pages. Even understanding how to lose weight, which I did, wasn't enough of a game changer.
Yeah.
We sustained peaceful food control freedom from food obsession, freedom from weight obsession didn't come until I got this clarity, which include being really clear on my goals and why I was doing this, being really clear on what was causing the cravings. And then, of course, the craving control itself, which was understanding triggers and cues and knowing how to stop the cravings and manage them. That's my lived experience, is that I've never been more peaceful about my weight. And so going into this year, that's what I wish for everyone. I wish for everyone who is like me, that has struggled for a long time, who's blamed themselves and has shamed themselves, that wants to have a level of kindness and compassion around this. I want for everyone that has struggled with weight the way I have to get the same peace that I have. And that really does come profoundly so from it's just getting clear, getting really clear and understanding how to control those cravings. And of course, if there's anything in today's conversation that has sparked this for you, if you identify with anything that Holly and I have said and it resonates with you, and some of these ideas are things you want to explore a little bit further, please look into the description below this video. We have a link to a masterclass where we'll be talking. It's a free masterclass where we'll be getting into a little bit more detail on the aspect of clarity and how we can get clear and what are some of the tools and skills we can use to bring clarity, more clarity to our weight loss journey. And a little bit more detail on the craving side as well, in the free masterclass. So there will be a link with this video to sign up. That's on the 12th of January, right, Holly? The 12th of January, 2025. If you're watching this video after the 12th of January, 2025, please feel free to follow the second link you'll find with this video, which is an ongoing short course that Holly and I give on getting cravings and overeating under control. And in that short course, again, we deal with triggers and cues and craving control, but we also deal with the mindset shift and the clarity aspects in that course. And we do have a course coming up, our next course. Remind me, what date do we start the next 4-week short course?
That is February 1st.
February 1st, 2025. So it's a 4-week course. Well, it's available to you for a lifetime if you sign up for the course. So follow the link. It's available online for life. However, as part of that course, Holly and I meet with course participants weekly for 4 weeks. And that's what starts on the 1st of February, and then for 4 weeks every Saturday. But again, if you are watching this after the 1st of February 2025 and you feel like you've missed the course, click on the link anyway, because that's a course that we update and we run it. There is a self-guided version as well as some new dates for when we'll go live again. So good stuff all around. But I just hope the video itself was beneficial. Right, Hals? Good to chat to you again, friend.
You too. All right, peeps. We will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.